The hospital smelled of antiseptic and sorrow, every hallway echoing with quiet despair. Jennifer walked forward, her hands trembling, as if carrying the weight of her collapsing world. She had rehearsed this moment in her mind, but nothing could prepare her heart. A doctor turned, his eyes heavy with exhaustion, his mouth carrying the words she dreaded. Jennifer said, "Please, just tell me he's fine." The silence that followed became louder than any scream. The doctor whispered, "I'm sorry. There's nothing more we can do." Her knees buckled, and the room blurred with tears. She felt the ground give way beneath her as though the earth itself no longer wanted to hold her. Memories flashed, laughter, hope, love, all ripped from her like pages torn from a book. Jennifer clutched her chest, gasping as pain carved into her soul. In that moment her life shattered into 1,000 unfixable pieces, and she could only whisper, "No, please, no." The world outside the hospital felt colder than she remembered, though the evening air carried only a mild chill. Jennifer said, "How can life still move when mine has stopped?" Her footsteps echoed across empty pavement, blending with faint traffic hum. She searched the dark sky for answers, but the stars hid behind clouds. A streetlight flickered above her, casting long shadows that stretched like cruel reminders of emptiness. She pressed her arms around herself, whispering, "I don't know how to keep breathing." Her tears blurred the glowing street lamps, turning them into fragile halos. Passing strangers walked by, unaware of the battle inside her chest. Jennifer wanted to scream, but silence gripped her throat. Each step forward felt heavier, dragging her deeper into grief. Hope seemed like a cruel myth, mocking her with its absence. She whispered again, "Please, let this pain stop." Jennifer sat at the bus stop, empty bench stretching beside her, metal cold against her skin. She stared at the timetable but couldn't read the letters through her tears. "Time keeps moving," she whispered, "but mine has stopped." Cars rushed past, headlights slicing the night like indifferent eyes. She pulled her knees closer, arms hugging herself as though holding her heart inside. The silence between passing vehicles was filled with the hollow ache of memory. Jennifer closed her eyes, remembering laughter that once filled her days. It felt like a cruel dream stolen too soon. She said, "I thought love was enough. I thought I mattered." Each word broke apart in the cool air, fragments of grief carried away like smoke. She pressed her face into her hands, desperate for the world to pause, but it refused. The night remained unkind. The city felt alive, but she was fading. Jennifer walked past glowing shop windows where couples laughed inside, warmth spilling out into the night. She pressed her hand against the glass, feeling only cold. "Why can't I feel that warmth?" she whispered. Faces blurred into silhouettes of joy, none aware of her silent collapse. Every laugh stabbed deeper, reminders of a life she thought she could have. She pulled her hood over her head, hiding the sorrow etched into her expression. Cars honked in the distance, a reminder that the world was rushing forward without her. Jennifer slowed her pace, her shoulders slumped. "I gave everything, and it wasn't enough," she muttered. Her reflection in the window looked like a stranger, eyes hollow, skin pale. For the first time she wondered if she'd ever recognize herself again. Jennifer reached her apartment, a small one-bedroom tucked into a quiet building. The silence inside felt suffocating, louder than any noise outside. She shut the door and leaned her forehead against the wood, whispering, "I can't do this." The dim lamp flickered, shadows spilling across the walls like ghosts of memory. She sank onto the couch, clutching a pillow, as if it could replace the warmth she lost. Tears stained the fabric as she whispered, "I gave my heart away, but he never wanted it." The words stung, sharper than blades. She pressed the pillow harder, muffling sobs that tore through her chest. The clock ticked mercilessly, reminding her the night would not end for hours. Jennifer thought of calling someone but couldn't form words. She sat in silence, breaking quietly, unseen by anyone. Morning sunlight slipped weakly through Jennifer's thin curtains, but the light brought no comfort. She sat at her kitchen table, fingers tracing the rim of a chipped coffee mug. How do you heal when your heart refuses? She whispered. The silence pressed down, heavy and unyielding. She remembered his voice, the warmth that once made her believe she mattered. Each memory stabbed deeper, making the present unbearable. Jennifer pushed the mug aside, spilling dark coffee across the table like spilled ink staining her life. She clutched her head, hair falling forward as sobs escaped her lips. I keep giving, but there's nothing left to give, she said. The ticking clock mocked her, each second pulling her further from who she once was. She longed for someone to notice, someone to hold her together. But the only sound was her own broken breathing. Jennifer walked through the park, where the trees stood bare against the gray sky. Children laughed nearby, their joy cutting her heart open. She whispered, "Why does life move so easily for others?" She sat on a bench, shoulders hunched, hands clasped tightly in her lap. The cold wind tugged strands of hair across her tear-streaked face. Couples passed by holding hands, their smiles unbroken. Jennifer pressed her eyes shut, whispering, "That could have been me." She felt invisible, a shadow among the living. A small bird landed near her feet, pecking at crumbs, reminding her of fragility and survival. She forced a breath, but it came out shaky, betraying her turmoil. Every laugh in the park grew louder, pressing her further into loneliness. "I gave him my heart," she murmured, "and he never even noticed." At work, Jennifer sat at her desk surrounded by papers and glowing screens. The office buzzed with voices and keyboards, yet she felt like she was drowning in silence. Her colleague Sarah leaned over asking, "Are you all right?" Jennifer forced a smile, but her eyes betrayed her. "I'm fine," she whispered, voice cracking slightly. Sarah gave a concerned glance before walking away, leaving Jennifer to her storm. She stared at her computer, words blurring into meaningless patterns. Her chest tightened, and she pressed her palm against it as if holding broken pieces inside. "Hold it together," she begged herself quietly. The room seemed to spin with laughter, but none of it touched her. She bit her lip until it bled, hiding her pain from everyone. The world expected strength, but all she had left was fragility. Jennifer sat by her bedroom window that evening, city lights twinkling in the distance. The world outside seemed alive, but she felt empty. She whispered, "I don't belong in that light." Her reflection stared back, hollow eyes framed by smudged makeup. She pressed her hand against the glass, wishing someone could reach through. Her phone buzzed on the table, but she didn't move. Messages went unanswered as her heart recoiled from connection. She pulled her knees up, resting her chin on them, whispering, "Why wasn't I enough?" A single tear slid down her cheek, catching the faint glow of neon outside. The city roared below, but her apartment remained silent, suffocating. Jennifer wished the glass could shatter and release her into the night sky, away from everything that reminded her of love lost. Jennifer visited her mother, seeking comfort she could not admit she needed. Her mother looked at her with soft eyes, sensing her pain without words. "You don't have to carry this alone," her mother said gently. Jennifer forced a smile, shaking her head. "I can handle it," she lied, though her trembling hands betrayed her truth. Her mother reached forward, resting a hand over Jennifer's. The warmth made tears spill instantly. "You deserve love that holds you, not love that breaks you," her mother whispered. Jennifer broke down, pressing her face into her mother's shoulder, sobbing freely. It was the first time in days she allowed herself to collapse into someone's embrace. "I gave my whole heart," Jennifer said between sobs, "but it was never wanted." Her mother's arms held her, strong and steady, as the night carried their pain. Jennifer's phone buzzed with a message she both dreaded and longed for. It was from Daniel, the man she had given her heart to. Her hands shook as she opened it. The words were cold, simple, final. "I don't feel the same." She stared at the screen, her chest tightening as if every breath was trapped. Jennifer whispered, "Why did I believe in something that never existed?" She dropped the phone onto the couch, covering her face with her hands. The truth she had avoided was now undeniable. Memories of his smile cut into her like broken glass. Her heart screamed for him, but her mind whispered she had been blind. She said, "I was never enough, was I?" The silence answered her with cruel honesty, deepening the wound. At work the next day, Jennifer tried to bury herself in routine, but her thoughts kept circling back to him. She typed reports she couldn't read, answered questions she didn't hear. Sarah approached again, placing a gentle hand on her shoulder. "You're not okay?" Sarah said softly. Jennifer forced a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "I'll be fine," she muttered, though her trembling hands betrayed her. The noise of the office grew unbearable, every laugh reminding her of what she lacked. She felt trapped in a cage of glass, visible yet unreachable. Her heart screamed silently, but no one truly saw her. She longed for escape, yet feared being alone with her thoughts. That night, Jennifer scrolled through old photos on her phone, each one a dagger of memory. His smile, their conversations, promises unspoken but felt. She whispered, "How could it mean nothing to you?" Her tears blurred the screen, until his face melted into light. She clutched the phone to her chest, rocking gently as if holding a ghost. The weight of longing crushed her, heavier than silence. She whispered again, "I gave you everything." The apartment felt colder, walls pressing in, shadows growing longer. Loneliness became a physical ache, and her body shook with quiet sobs. She wanted to forget, but every picture dragged her deeper into despair. Jennifer sat across from her mentor, Mr. Carter, at a small cafe. His calm eyes studied her while she stirred her untouched coffee. "You look like you're carrying the world," he said gently. She shook her head, forcing a hollow laugh. "I can't seem to let go of someone who never wanted me." His expression softened. "Love isn't less real because it wasn't returned," he replied. Jennifer's eyes filled with tears, her voice trembling. "But what do I do with this emptiness?" Mr. Carter leaned forward, his voice steady. "You learn to fill it with yourself. Pain doesn't define you unless you let it." His words lingered, but her heart still resisted. Later, Jennifer walked alone along a riverside path, city lights shimmering on the water. Her chest still carried the weight of his rejection, but her mentor's words echoed faintly. She whispered, "Maybe I can learn to breathe again." The wind brushed her hair across her face, as if urging her forward. Couples walked past, their laughter painful yet strangely distant now. She paused at the railing, staring at her reflection trembling in the dark water. "I gave my heart away," she whispered, "but maybe I can take it back." The night felt heavy, but for the first time, a fragile thread of hope stirred inside her, fragile yet real. Jennifer woke in the middle of the night, breath sharp, heart racing. A dream had dragged her into memories she wanted to bury. She saw herself standing outside Daniel's door, begging for something he could never give. She whispered in the dark, "Why do I keep reliving it?" The room pressed in, shadows stretching across the walls like silent tormentors. She sat up, clutching her chest as if holding the fragments of herself together. Tears slid down her cheeks, soaking the pillow beside her. "I wasn't enough for him, but I can't stop needing him," she admitted to the silence. The truth of her own weakness gnawed deeper than rejection itself. Her reflection in the darkened window stared back, hollow-eyed, mocking her. She whispered again, "Maybe the enemy is me." At work the following day, Jennifer froze when she saw Daniel walk into the office lobby. His presence stole the air from her lungs. He looked casual, untouched, his laughter shared with another colleague. She whispered to herself, "He doesn't even see me." She turned quickly, hiding behind the elevator doors before he could notice. The sight of him felt like reopening a wound that never healed. Jennifer clenched her fists, her chest burning. "Why does he get to move on while I drown?" she muttered, forcing herself to stay invisible. The cruelest truth was not that he rejected her. It was that he lived as if she had never mattered. That evening, Jennifer wandered into a bar, the dim hum of conversations filling the smoky air. She sat alone at a corner table, staring into her untouched glass. Her mind replayed every moment with Daniel, each memory heavier than the last. She whispered, "Why can't I stop?" A man at the bar glanced her way, but she turned her face down, avoiding connection. She didn't want comfort. She wanted answers from the silence that refused to give them. Her body felt like a shell, hollowed by longing. She pressed her hand against her chest, whispering, "Am I broken inside?" The laughter around her rang cruel, reminders of what she would never have. Jennifer visited her friend Sarah later that night. Sarah's warm smile hid concern, but Jennifer noticed. "You don't have to be strong here," Sarah said softly. Jennifer's eyes filled, but she shook her head. "If I start breaking, I may never stop." Sarah squeezed her hand, whispering, "Sometimes falling apart is the first step to healing." Jennifer's chest ached at the kindness, but her fear held her prisoner. "What if I never put myself back together?" she asked. Sarah's gaze was steady. "Then we build you again, together." The words carved deep, reminding her that maybe she wasn't as alone as she believed. Still, her heart resisted, clinging to pain like an anchor. Back home, Jennifer sat before her mirror, makeup smeared from tears, eyes swollen and red. She studied herself, searching for the girl who once believed in love. "Where did she go?" she whispered. Her reflection didn't answer. Instead, it stared back like a stranger. She touched the glass with trembling fingers, whispering, "You're the one destroying me." For the first time, she recognized the enemy wasn't Daniel. It was her own refusal to let go. Her sobs shook the small room as she pressed her forehead against the mirror. "Why do I cling to someone who never stayed?" she cried. The truth was brutal, but it lingered with clarity. Her deepest wounds came from within. Jennifer sat in Sarah's apartment when Sarah hesitated, eyes heavy with something unsaid. "There's something you need to know," Sarah whispered. Jennifer frowned, tension rising in her chest. "What is it?" Sarah's voice cracked. "Daniel. He was never honest with you. He's been with someone else this whole time." The words cut through Jennifer like a blade. She froze, every breath trapped inside. Her mind screamed against the truth, but Sarah's eyes held only painful honesty. Jennifer said, No, that can't be real." Sarah reached for her, but Jennifer pulled back, shaking. The betrayal twisted into her bones, heavier than rejection. "He lied to me," she whispered. The truth was not just that he didn't love her. It was that she was living inside a cruel illusion. Jennifer left Sarah's place in a daze, streets spinning around her as if the world mocked her pain. Rain began to fall, soaking her hair and clothes. She whispered, "How could he do this to me?" Each drop stung like needles against her skin. She stumbled toward a streetlight, gripping the pole for balance as sobs tore through her chest. Images of Daniel's smile now felt poisonous, every memory corrupted by betrayal. She pressed her hands to her face, crying into the night air. "I gave him everything," she said, "and he gave me nothing but lies." Her voice broke under the weight of despair. Strangers passed by, but none stopped. The city kept moving while Jennifer crumbled, alone in her storm. Back in her apartment, Jennifer threw open drawers, pulling out every photo, every note, every trace of Daniel. Her hands shook as she gathered them into a pile on the floor. She whispered, "You don't get to haunt me anymore." Tears blurred her vision, but fury gave her strength. She lit a small candle, flames flickering against the darkness, and one by one, she fed the memories to the fire. Each picture curled into ash, each word crumbling into smoke. "You lied to me," she shouted, voice breaking. The air filled with the smell of burning paper, like grief turning into poison. Jennifer pressed her hand to her chest, whispering, "I don't know who I am without you." The fire glowed brighter, as though feeding on her pain. Jennifer stormed into her bathroom, staring into the mirror with wild, tear-filled eyes. "You let this happen," she accused her reflection. Her fists slammed the counter, rattling bottles. She leaned closer, whispering, "You begged for scraps and called it love." The mirror showed a stranger, broken, hollow, consumed by sorrow. She pressed her forehead against the glass, sobbing as cracks seemed to form in her spirit. "Why wasn't I enough?" she cried. The silence of the room pressed back like judgment. For the first time, she saw that the war was not with Daniel anymore. It was inside herself. Her voice shook as she whispered, "Maybe I've been my own enemy all along." The next day, Jennifer confronted Daniel outside his office, her heart pounding with both dread and rage. He looked startled but not guilty. She said, "How long were you lying to me?" His silence was louder than any confession. Her voice broke. "Was I nothing to you?" Daniel's gaze flickered with discomfort, but his answer was simple. "I never asked for your heart." The words shattered her more than any scream. Jennifer staggered back, eyes brimming with disbelief. "I gave you everything," she whispered. His indifference carved deeper than rejection, proving she had loved a man who never cared. The moment was final. The illusion was gone. All that remained was the wreckage of her trust. Jennifer sat in her apartment, heart pounding with the weight of truth. Daniel's words replayed endlessly. "I never asked for your heart," she whispered. "Then why did I give it so freely?" Her body trembled as anger surged against despair. She stood pacing the floor, clutching her chest as though holding the shattered pieces inside. "I deserve more than this," she told herself, though her voice cracked with doubt. She grabbed her coat, determination flashing through swollen eyes. It was time to confront the storm, even if it destroyed her. "I can't keep living as a ghost," she whispered, forcing her breath steady. For the first time, she chose not to run. Jennifer stood in the rain outside Daniel's apartment, her fists tightening at her sides. The storm drenched her hair, but she didn't flinch. When he opened the door, surprise flickered across his face. "What are you doing here?" he asked coldly. Jennifer's voice shook, but her eyes held fire. "I came to tell you what you took from me." Her chest rose with every trembling breath. "I gave you love, and you gave me lies." Daniel shrugged, indifference piercing deeper than any blade. "That's your mistake, not mine." Jennifer stepped closer, her voice breaking but fierce. "No, my mistake was believing you deserved me." Inside, tension filled the room like smoke. Daniel crossed his arms, smirking faintly, as though her pain amused him. Jennifer's voice rose. "You used me. You knew I loved you. And you let me drown in it." Daniel replied flatly, "I never promised you anything." Her breath caught, fury and grief colliding. She slammed her hand on the table, shaking. "You don't get to dismiss me like I was nothing." Daniel's smirk faltered, but his silence cut deeper than words. Tears streamed down Jennifer's cheeks as she whispered, "I gave you every piece of me." The weight of betrayal crushed her, yet something within her began to rise. Jennifer's voice broke into raw honesty. "You made me believe I wasn't enough, but the truth is, you were never worthy of me." Daniel looked away, silence betraying discomfort. She stepped closer, trembling but strong. "You don't get to define my worth." Her tears mixed with rain still clinging to her skin. "You taught me pain, but now I choose myself." Daniel's eyes flickered, but no words came. Jennifer straightened, her breath steadying for the first time in months. "I don't need you anymore." The words carried power, heavier than his indifference. She turned toward the door, her heart shattered but beginning to rebuild in defiance. Jennifer stepped into the rain again, the night air cold but strangely freeing. Her body shook with sobs, yet her chest felt lighter. "I said it, I finally said it," she whispered. She lifted her face to the storm, raindrops mixing with her tears. For the first time she felt the weight begin to lift. Her heart still ached, but her spirit had claimed something Daniel could never take, her voice. She whispered to the storm, "I choose me now." The words echoed in the night, carried away by the rain. Though her pain remained raw, she knew this was the beginning of freedom, the moment she broke her chains. Jennifer woke to quiet sunlight, filtering through the curtains. The storm had passed, and though her heart still ached, there was something new in the silence, space to breathe. She whispered, "I'm still here." The words felt fragile, but real. She stood, stretching her body as if shaking off months of heaviness. The memories still lingered, sharp and painful, but no longer chained her. Her eyes caught the reflection in the mirror across the room. For the first time, she saw herself not as broken, but as someone who survived. Later, Jennifer walked through the park, the same one that once mocked her with laughter. Children still played, couples still strolled, but she felt different. She whispered, "The world didn't stop for me, and maybe that's okay." Her steps were slow, but steadier. The cold air no longer cut like knives, it carried freshness. Jennifer watched a mother lift her child into the air, their laughter ringing. Instead of pain, she felt warmth. She pressed a hand to her chest, realizing she could carry joy again, even if it looked different now. That evening, Jennifer sat across from Sarah at their favorite cafe. The hum of voices filled the air, but this time it didn't drown her. It comforted her. Sarah smiled warmly. "You look lighter." Jennifer laughed softly, a sound she hadn't heard from herself in months. "I think I'm learning to let go," she said. Sarah reached across the table, squeezing her hand. "That's the bravest thing you've done." Jennifer's eyes welled, but the tears felt healing, not hollow. For the first time, she believed that hope could return. Later, Jennifer visited her mother, who opened a door with quiet joy. They sat together on the couch, silent but connected. Her mother's hand rested over hers, steady and warm. Jennifer whispered, "I'm learning to forgive myself." Her mother's eyes softened. "That's all I ever wanted for you." Jennifer leaned into her embrace, feeling comfort that no betrayal could erase. The silence between them was no longer heavy, it was peace. She realized healing didn't mean forgetting, but accepting. And for the first time, she wasn't afraid to move forward. That night, Jennifer stood at her window, city lights glittering against the sky. She whispered, "I gave my heart to someone who didn't want it, but I survived." Her reflection stared back. Not a stranger, but a woman scarred and strong. She pressed her palm to the glass, whispering, "I choose me now." Tears welled again, but they no longer drowned her. They cleansed her. The world outside sparkled, full of unknown tomorrows. She exhaled slowly, steady and calm. The silence lingered, but this time it held promise. For the first time she smiled.